ladies and Gentiles. Well, are we really gonna go there already? Well, anyway, I mean, I guess it's warranted, but it's me, Freedom Fighter, coming back at you with another weekly wrap up, and we got a bunch of stuff to cover here, so I'm just gonna try to get to it and let's try to cover all this stuff because it's been, off the walls crazy with a bunch of stuff going on. So obviously, last night, Thursday, Israel preemptive struck Iran's nuclear sites and military bases, saying they took out three top commanders, pretty much dismantling all of their top leadership and military plans. And Iran is on X tweeting about how the end is near and they're getting ready to do a large attack, but it's mostly bluster, and I'm pretty sure Iran is on a path to either getting wiped off the planet, or they are going to go full scorched earth, and Israel's going to try to drag us into another war and get us involved in all this stuff, which brings up the point. Netanyahu came out with a speech and said this was all on the up and up and didn't happen without, Trump's permission, or at least he was told. I think he said to hold back until they could try to get an Iran deal, but Israel went ahead and did its own thing, which brings a whole bunch of people talking about a whole bunch of different kinds of scenarios. You got the Q-tard people talking about, this was the plan all along, and I've talked about the Q-tard people over and over again, and talking about the Q-hopium. We've got a whole nother thing going on here in America where, we've got these riots going on and we have this military parade going on tomorrow, the Saturday the 14th. And meanwhile, we got, all these riots and stuff happening, the No Kings protest, where Q Hopium, the Q-tards are saying this was all part of the plan, and, they're actually not there for a military parade. They're putting the tanks and deploying the military in the streets for the deep state arrest and take back the country. And you guys already know my opinion on all this. It ain't happening. And, man, I sure hope I'm wrong. And again, I've told these Q-tard people over and over again, man, if you turn out to be right, I'm going to be so happy, for you, so happy for this country. And I hope it happens. I just know it's not going to happen. And I don't get strung along with the psyops and the dangling carrot in front of my face anymore, hoping stuff is gonna happen again. And then I was arguing with this Q-tard the other day, talking about, did you see the Democrat senator arrest? Again, he wasn't arrested on treason or sedition to the republic. He barged into DHS Secretary Nome press conference and started yelling and looking unhinged. So the Capitol Police or whoever that was escorted him out, and he was basically fighting with the authorities. So they arrested him, not even knowing who he was. I don't even know if they pressed charges on him or not, but it's not going to be anything other than like disturbing official business or something. Like, this guy's not getting put away for disobeying the Constitution or treason or anything like that. Again, if you think these tanks are in the street because there's some secret plan to deploy the military and round up Nancy Pelosi and AOC and all these communists, and openly Bernie Sanders the socialist, Maxine the Marxist Waters, it ain't gonna happen. And it's way beyond these people. It's the judges, all these rogue criminal judges, the officers that enforce all these unconstitutional laws, if you're just arresting these politicians, which is a great start, I'm not saying it, but they're not even the head, right? They're not even the head of the snake. This goes way up to people that are, the puppet string pullers behind the curtains, Rothschilds, Soroses, the whole gang. The ones starting, the wars in the Middle East and stuff. And it even goes above the puppet heads that their names. I'm telling you, Netanyahu and all these people, there's people above him that you haven't even heard of. And they're pulling strings behind the curtains and stuff like that. And people, it ain't happening, man. That is a pipe dream. That is you huffing and puffing on some high grade hopium, thinking that's gonna happen. And I actually heard from Canadian Preparedness the other night. Nate over there actually had a good point, or a good interesting idea, that the military was actually being deployed because they had the pre-warning of these strikes coming, and that they're actually being placed in protection for World War III popping off, which would make a lot more sense than the whole domestic, you know, oh yeah, these leftist riots are coming, and we're gonna have to quell the insurrection, and that's the other thing they're kind of pushing. Um, they're doing the insurrection talk again, but from the other side. Oh, and talk about hopium and Q-tard stuff. The leftists are now running with their own. Um, Trump stole the election. They have all the receipts. There was interference, and Elon Musk was running illegal campaign donations and this whole thing. And I've been seeing, ever since Elon had the fallout with Trump, the algorithm has completely changed at X, and all of a sudden I'm getting a bunch of leftists pop up on my feed, and they're talking about how they're basically they're saying like, oh yeah, they've got the receipts, and the voting ballots of the machines were rigged, and all this stuff. So they're basically, going with the same thing, Trump was saying, which is why I always said, man, a civil war is inevitable. Like, it's gonna come to that clash, man. But, um, Trump has now flip flopped on his immigration policies, and he's like, well, the farmers and the restaurants and the leisure and hotels and all that, they need their illegals, so we're gonna, you know, stop, being less hardcore on immigration. And then he got a Chinese deal done, allowing, I think he said like a couple 100,000 of these Chinese people to go to our schools, which we already know how much damage that has done. They have these CCP instituted foundations, and I think they call them Confucius Institutes, where it's just anti-American, pro-Chinese, CCP, communist education systems, these are the people who are getting funneled into Harvard and Yale and all these schools and all these highly decorated universities that you end up paying for. But so again, that's all going down the tubes, and this goes to a greater conversation I had someone with the other day about, America can't just take all these people in, and there needs to be a moratorium. And not only do we need to deport illegals, there needs to be a moratorium on legal immigration, and that always upsets people and makes them go crazy. But the point I asked him was, where is the line? At what point do you stop calling America America? And what does it mean to be American? I mean, if you brought in, let's say, what is the population, like 300 million in America, and now they're talking about there's 20 million gotaways in Joe Biden's administration, and they've always used that same number of like 10 or 11 million illegals in America. But, that was out. I think they've been reporting that data point since like the 90s. So it's really more like 30, and then they said another 20 just through that period of time in the Biden administration. There's probably 50, 60 million illegals in this country. Um, and then they're like, imagine if you brought 100,000 or 100 million more, or let's just overload the population. Let's double. Let's say you brought 300 million, the population of our country right now, 300 million Chinese into the country. Could you still call it America? Would you call those people Americans? Right? Like, and if you say, oh yeah, like that's still America, I mean, bring another 300 million, another 300 million. At one point, you're going to start getting Chinese rule and Chinese superiority. They're going to be pushing, and it's going to become like China. You become what you import, which is the whole saying, import the third world. You're going to become the third world. And, I don't know if you've seen these videos. There's this one guy, I forget what he does. He does these like man on the street, but it's like man out in the jungle videos. But he goes to these like third world countries and gives them a Reese's cup or a Snickers bar, and these people are looking at it like, what the heck is that? And they're like sucking on the plastic, like they don't even know how to open a wrapper, right? They're like, what is this? This is an inedible, piece of plastic. And I seen one where they're like, I forget exactly where it was, but it looked like some tribe in Africa or something. And it's like I said, I can't remember this guy's channel. I just seen it pop up every once in a while. But it's like, guy gives tribe their first Coca-Cola or something like that. If you search that, you can probably find these videos. And then he has one of like Mountain Dew or Sprite or something like that, and they're literally like smacking the bottle on the ground and biting it, and they can't even get a bottle open. They don't even know what they're looking at. I think one guy ends up stabbing it with a knife, and like, just, it's carbonated obviously, so it starts spewing out. And they're like, what the heck is, this is some kind of dark magic or something. And they're drinking it, thinking, like, what the hell is this? But yeah, man. I mean, those are the people you expect to import and give them all the freedoms and rights of America and stick firearms in their hands and expect it to go well, and expect them to assimilate to American culture and become Americans. At some point, you bring that many people in, like I've always said, I think it was in my nationalism video, all these warring cultures who come from vastly different experiences of life that, hate each other and, like I said, are at war and stuff. And then you bring them here, the land of the free, with God given rights to self defense and firearms, and you just expect it to go, you know, all hunky dory. But, and there's been a lot of pushback on X. I mean, you got mainstream commentators, Charlie Kirk, some of the even congressmen. I forget who the guy's name was, but him and Matt Walsh and everything have been saying, like, like complete immigration bans, even legal moratoriums on immigration. This one guy, I think his name is Chief Trumpster or something like that. He's been posting videos of past Matt Walsh videos and Charlie Kirk videos during the Groiper War, where they were calling us T words for suggesting such immigration policies. And Matt Walsh even said, "Yeah, you're a T word, and these white nationalists, shooters or anything like that." And I think it was the congressman or one of these guys I saw who said, deportations is now the moderate position. Like, people are calling for all out, warfare. They want live rounds at these protests. And they're like, if you're going to be burning down the city and stuff, you can catch a hot lead freedom pellet. Nowhere in the world will they let this go down. I wanted to talk a little bit about the American dream, I guess, and what that whole means. You know what we've always said. You still gotta be asleep to believe in it. But what is it people think? They're coming here for. What do you think it is? I mean, if you take these people from the third world, like I said, who can't even open a Coca-Cola can, or don't know what a candy bar is, or a wrapper, and anything like that. Of course, if you bring them here and you put them in a hotel with a refrigerator, heating and AC, and a microwave, like they're gonna be ecstatic. And of course, they're gonna be like, America's the greatest place on earth, and that's why they are still willing to come. But like I said recently in that Afghan video where the guy got shot by the police because he was talking about everything is a trap in America. Like we always say, land of the free and home of the slaves. A lot of these people come here, searching for the golden paved roads, and then they find out the grass ain't always greener on the other side. But let me know what you think, man. Like I said, I'm getting long in this video, but I also wanted to talk, a little further about this World War III thing, and I think something big is coming, man. Like a 9/11 type of event, or I think a nuke's going off, or there's going to be some big attacks here soon, because, um, every time we're on the brink, I've said for a long time, but we're clearly now on the brink of a civil war, and whenever that happens, they always pull something off. Like, I mean, look back at the yellow vest protest at France and the Hong Kong riots, and, they were at a potential overthrow there in China, and then the CVID thing happens. Um, Israel was even just a couple months back, or maybe a year ago, they were talking about an Israeli civil war happening, and then they had October 7th happen, and that all went away, and they all unify into another cause. So that's what I think. I think they're gonna try to unify us into another cause here pretty soon, so we don't fight each other and rip ourselves apart and destroy this country. But anyway, man, let me know what you think. And till the next one, you know what it is, man. We are on our own. Nobody's coming to save us. So get right with God, because only God can save you. Freedom Fighters out.